Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Art of Homeownership Wednesday call here. We have a pretty cool agenda today that I'm excited to go through in regards to post-closing. Man, I'll tell you, the post-closing part of this process has really proven to be massively effective. I'm going to give it a couple minutes while I'm pulling up a few emails here that I can kind of share with you guys. But I think it's really important to know that, I had a conversation with a new Art of Homeownership partner yesterday, and he was just mentioning how he wants to, grow the business. He wants to recruit to it. He wants to do all these things, which is amazing. And in doing so, this has to kind of be who you are, right? It can't just be something that you do. It has to be who you are, what your company is known for. And a big part of that is setting the stage for what's going to happen with the client's either post-closing experience or just their ongoing experience. We had a meeting a couple weeks back up in the state of Washington with a new realtor group. And in that meeting, we were showing her the Art of Homeownership, and she just said, man, I'd love to experience this. So we just signed her up right there on the spot, right? And hit get in contact. And, she, within a couple minutes, got the welcome to Art of Homeownership email. And she was like, oh, look at this. You emailed me while we're talking. And now she's getting essentially the same thing that somebody would get for us post-closing, but as a new client of ours, right? So when we're talking about post-closing today, I want everyone to think of it through two different lenses, right? Not just when a transaction closes, this is what you do post-closing for a client. I also want you to think about the ongoing services you're going to give to people, or the upfront services you're going to give to people that may not have ever done a transaction with you to that point, right? Because both of those things should hold true. And in this market, for those of you who were on the call that we did around opening up the housing inventory, or like solving the housing inventory crisis, this is the silver bullet, right? This is going to be the thing that allows you to have conversations with people, to engage with them where they may not have engaged with you on a proactive basis. So I'm excited to go through that today. If there is anything else, now I don't believe this is going to take the full hour. I could be wrong. But if there's anything else you guys want to talk about or go over, please feel free to type it in the chat, type it in the Q&A. And this could take an hour depending upon how many questions or what kind of feedback y'all have. So without further ado, let's dive into this. I'm going to move this over here. Show. And we are rolling. Okay, can you guys see this Art of Homeownership post-close process screen? Somebody just give me a thumbs up in the chat. Yep, okay, cool. Okay, so I like to use the term arguably. I just don't know if it makes sense here, because I really do believe that, again, arguably, this is the most important part of our commitment. Because we can say all the things that Art of Homeownership is and all the things that we as Art of Homeownership partners do, but without actually committing to it, it's problematic. And we have some really cool things we're going to talk about towards the end about how, if you cannot make this commitment, we can potentially help you at the Art of Homeownership with customer success teams. So we'll jump into that, and it's going to be something that we're going to beta test for people that may need it. All right, so getting into post-closing expectations, we want to first just talk about the importance of setting expectations for post-closing. We went over this a few weeks back when I was on the call previously, just talking about when do we set these expectations, right? So we've set the expectation on the first phone call, right? But very briefly, right? We get into it much more in depth in the consultation, right? Where we actually show them what we do, who we are, what it's going to mean for them for the next 30 years, and how beneficial that's going to be. And then when we go into the contract meeting, that's where we really kick it off and we reiterate what's going to happen after closing. And then, we have to really set the stage when the transaction is done. I have interviewed a countless number of mortgage professionals and real estate professionals, especially most recently up in the state of Washington when we met with a large group. And I just asked, I asked the whole audience, someone in here tell me what they do when the transaction closes. Like, what's their process, right? Is there gifts? Is there phone calls? Is there conversations? And everybody from the lenders and the realtors who are in the audience basically said almost the same thing. Some of them get emails, right? Some of them call the client and congratulate them, and they get the keys, they get a gift, and they say, hey, call us if you need anything. We're super excited for you, and we're looking forward to helping you, be a client for life. And then I kind of giggle a little bit, right? Because someone can't be a client for life when the only expectation is that hopefully they call you during their life, right? Like there has to be some proactivity there. And because most real estate and mortgage professionals don't set proper post-closing expectations, well, then the client makes their own assumptions. And team, that assumption is that they think they're done. All right, cool. I worked with Steve. He was a great loan officer, and they did a great job. I'm happy. I'm in my home, but now I don't have to talk to Steve and his team anymore, and I'm going to go own my home. And in the event that I ever need to refinance or buy another home, maybe I'll call Steve again. We'll see what happens. That's what everyone makes the assumption of, right? Because till this point, till Art of Homeownership has come along, nobody's done anything differently. So this is where, if you really want Art of Homeownership to do really well for you and for your clients, you need to make sure you're setting expectations. So let's go over how that works. The post-closing call is what we're going to go over today, right? How to set it up, we're going to talk about, and then make sure how you're communicating as you're going, as you're going through the post-closing process is important as well. We want to make sure that we talk about when you're going to contact them next after the loan closes. Is the annual financial review the next touch point, or should additional follow-up occur? And so we're going to kind of hit on all these things here. I'll get to the next page. There we go. So first, we're going to talk about the post-closing call. And let me make sure I'm going to pull it up on a different page here so y'all can, I'm going to walk you through it. All right, so for any of you who don't know how to go to the e-learning platform, I'll help you get there. So you just go to artofhomeownership.com. You'll likely already have this saved. You can scroll down to the bottom here, and you can click on e-learning platform or learning center. From here, you put in your username and password. And then you just go to post-closing call. Right? You can literally just type it in the search here as soon as it pops up. Oh, sorry, internet's running a little slow. So you can just click all results if you want, because there's trainings on it. There's anything and everything that you would need to go over anything post-closing. So the job description for somebody that could do this for you. There's recordings of post-closing calls. There's the email to schedule the post-closing calls. And then there's the actual webinar where we did an entire training on it. And then there's the script here. So let's click on this one. And this is our post-closing call. So again, I don't want to reiterate the entire training, right? Because you can go actually watch the webinar where we did the whole training, and you can watch an actual recording of us doing it live. But this is where, one of my favorite things to tell the client is, Val's my client. I'm going to say, Val, first of all, congratulations on your home closing, on the refinance, on the purchase, whatever it is that you did there. And, I'm really excited to help you understand what comes next. Right? Because unfortunately, Val, as as we've talked about, you've had a loan before, but when you were done, you were done. And hopefully you understand by now in going through our process that this is really just the beginning, right? Because if you thought we were helpful and good for the last 30 days, you're going to be blown away with how valuable we're going to be for the next 30 years. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things you can expect, some of the areas in which we're going to help you. I want to make sure I ask you some questions, and we'll go from there. So then you just work your way down the script and make sure that the client knows all the next steps. Anybody have any questions, comments, feedback? Does anybody want to share something that they've, maybe they started doing these where they weren't doing them before, and share the difference in the connection with the client? Anybody feeling generous enough to share? Okay, well, we'll move back into this. So how to set this up is really important, because most people aren't expecting this, right? For a very long period of time when we just started this, we started telling clients, hey, when's a good time to have your post-closing call? And they were like, I thought we were done, right? Because we didn't do a good enough job in telling them, what to expect. So in the contract meeting, right, when someone goes under contract or when somebody locks a refinance, we call it a refinance commitment meeting. You need to let them know right at the end of that conversation, Val, we're really excited to help you. And please keep in mind that after the transaction closes, we're going to have about another 20 to 30 minute phone call on the post-closing call to go over all the next steps. So just be, and our team will help you schedule that. Great, right? So now they know it's coming. It's not going to come out of the blue. And then depending upon your team structure, right? If you go into the e-learning platform and look at team structure, your loan coordinator, who really helped that client from contract all the way, basically from pre-approval all the way through to closing. Let's just say, Darcy is my loan coordinator. So if Darcy's working with Val, she would say, Val, congratulations, your loan just funded, blah, blah, blah. We're so excited. Right? She's going to go over the entire thing. You're going to get a notification of recording and all these things. And then right at the end, she's going to say, Val, so, as you need to have spend some time doing the post-closing call with Ryan. He should have went over that with you. When is the best day and time to have that post-closing call? And I'll just put it on both of your guys' calendars. All right. So Val says Tuesday at 4. Darcy emails the calendar invite to me and to Val. And Tuesday from 4 to 4:30, I see as the originator that I have a post-closing call set up with Val. She knows it's happening. I know it's happening. We're both ready for it. You're going to bat nearly 100% in terms of having your post-closing calls, if that's the process. If the process is they've never heard of the post-closing call, they don't know to expect it, the transaction closes, you do not want to have a post-closing call when you call someone to say, congratulations, your loan funded. You just don't, right? Because they're literally so excited to move into their new home, right? And they may move in tomorrow. They have to go pick up keys. They're waiting for recording. They don't want to spend a half an hour talking to you about things for the next 30 years. Their head's still spinning, right? So you can give them anywhere from 24 hours to a week is probably the most ideal time frame, sometime in that realm, to set up that post-closing call. Now, if it's not set up, and you may try and have that post-closing call, you may call them and they don't answer. Well, the likelihood that you're going to call them again is probably not great, right? Because unless you really have it set up in your CRM in a good way, the likelihood of them calling you back and taking that serious is also uncertain, right? Because they don't know what that call is about. They think that they're done. So it has to be set up in order to bat 100%. You want it set up where they know it's coming. On the closing call where they find out the loan funded, it's on their calendar, it's on your calendar, you're going to have a much higher likelihood of success there. Any questions, comments, thoughts, or feedback? If you don't have a loan coordinator, or really if you're just a solo practitioner, then you can do it, right? Hey, Mr. Smith, congratulations, your loan closed today. Super excited for you. Thanks for working with us. Hey, when's a good time for the post-closing call, right? I have tomorrow at 4 available. I have Friday at 2 available. Any one of those work for you? Yeah, let's do Friday at 2. Great. I'm going to send you a calendar invite. So you can set up your own post-closing call that way. Questions, comments, or feedback, let me know. Outside of the post-closing call script, got a question here. My clients look forward to the call. We build it up as something they don't want to miss. Love that. Ryan, do you want to share how you do that? Would you mind? we can, team, if you can make Ryan a panelist, maybe he can chime in. I'd love to get his thoughts on that and like how they build it up.
Hey, there you go. Can you hear me?
Gotcha. Thanks, bud.
Cool. Yeah. So at the beginning, kind of when we're talking about what makes us a little bit different, we're pitching, the whole concept of helping them for the next 30 years. And so we're kind of planting that seed from day one. And then as they get further and further, they start to progress through. So then my loan coordinator, production partner, they're having that same, hey, when we get done, we want to make sure we have that call with you. So that way that the client kind of knows a little bit about what the call might be about. And it's dripping on them some of the various services that we offer, like the home bot, the home concierge, et cetera. But it's also going over things where, as a new homeowner, a lot of people kind of stub their toe. Like, where do you make your first payment? What about supplemental taxes? Things like that too. So they really kind of dig into that. They're like, man, I don't want to miss out. I don't want to stub my toe. I don't want to be like, my coworker who had some challenges with their house. And so when we get that loan closed, we do have an automated email that asks them to schedule it. But then we're also reaching back out to them proactively to make sure that they got that email, and then just throw something on the calendar right there on the call if we can. Today I have 2 of them. They're actually really, really fun for me to do, and the clients really look forward to them.
Love that, man. Yeah, I'll tell you just super candidly, I used to do all my post-closing calls, and every time I saw one on the calendar, like initially, every time I saw one on the calendar, before I really started to understand it, I was like, oh, I got to do a post-closing call. That was like my just general reaction was like, there's so much to do, right? There's so many new clients that want loans and this, that, and the other, and realtors and emails I have to get back to. And I didn't see the post-closing call as a high value activity. But when we started doing them, especially when we created Art of Homeownership and we started delivering all the content on it, the feedback we got on these calls was unreal, right? The testimonials we got went through the roof, the engagement that we saw with our clients post-closing. So now I firmly believe it's the most valuable phone call you can make. And this kind of goes back to the video I did a while back that talks about, drilling for oil. And, when you drill for oil, getting like the first layer of oil is actually not all that expensive, right? What's more expensive is going deeper, right? And getting more, the deeper and deeper you go, right? But you get more and more oil. But the most expensive is starting a whole new well, right? And so think about that in terms of your client engagement and your client relationship. If you just fund a loan for a client, then and you're kind of done, and they believe you're done, you've just hit the top layer of oil. Right. So the better thing to do is to drill deeper, which is the post-closing call and setting it up and making sure they know what's going to happen, because then you can access the entire well, right? You get all of the oil, and it's a little bit more expensive, right, from a time perspective than, just going surface level. But the most expensive thing is to drill, hundreds of new wells, right? Which is essentially having to go find all new clients because you only punched a small hole in each well and you're starting over. All right, so just think through that analogy when you're having these post-closing calls and understand that this is the most valuable thing that you can do for your mortgage practice or your real estate practice. And again, real estate agents that are on the call here, your mortgage professionals are doing this for your team and on behalf of your team, and you'll get the notes, right? Which, if you ask any of our realtors, they'll say, look, I don't know how we ever work with another lender, because look what happens at the end of every call. And then look what happens every year, right? Look what happens here and there. So, we take care of their clients in ways that, most lenders never could, because we're committed to helping clients in a more holistic way. So, Rod, thanks for jumping in and your feedback on that. And team, feel free to share any other stories, or if anybody else has anything they want to share. This could be good news. It could be hard. It could be challenging. Like, what are the reasons that this isn't happening as much? So please feel free to share that with us. So it says here, outside of the post-closing call script, what do you go over in this step? It's really just, you can go through the normal script here, right? That I'll have right here. You can easily go through this, but the biggest thing is that they need to connect with the reason you're doing it. I had one client, and this is before I really started getting good at these. one client at the end of this, he was like, I got a weird question. Like, why do you guys do this? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, I'll just be honest, it seems like this is like an incredibly like intense amount of work that you're doing. Like, how are you making money on this? Like, why do you do this? What's, like, I can see why it makes sense for me, right? And how valuable it's gonna be for me, but do you get paid to do this? And it hit me like, I'm not explaining why we do this. Right. So at the end of your post-closing call, like when you get to this section, when you ask for referrals or whatever the case may be here, right? I'm going to spend some time and I'm going to say, Val, you know, first of all, do you understand all these things? Is there any questions you have? No, this all sounds great. Well, I really want you to know, and again, this is just page 1. So this is page 2 when you get to the end, right? So Val, I really want you to know the reason why we do this is because we really believe that if we help you become a more successful homeowner in every aspect of real estate or finance, that, selfishly, you will tell everyone you know that when you work with a real estate or mortgage professional, it should be an Art of Homeownership real estate and mortgage professional, because the value you're going to get is going to be way more than you could ever paid for. All right. Your interest rate that you got, your commissions that you paid are all right in line with the most competitive rates and commission structures that exist today. You didn't overpay for this service, right? It's just, we take the money that most money spend on Super Bowl commercials or internet ads or, billboards, right? Any marketing that they would do to find new clients. We take that same marketing money and we move it towards helping you become more successful. Because we know that history has shown us that our clients are not going to be successful homeowners. They'll just own a home. And that was not fulfilling for us, right? It wasn't something that we felt proud of. And just selling more debt than other people didn't land. So I hope you know the reason we're doing this is because we have a really, vested interest in helping you be a more successful homeowner. A, it's the right thing to do. And B, if we do that, you're going to tell more people that they should work with us, because this is a way for people to actually grow wealth, not just own a home. You want them to know that, right? It's important that they feel that. And dig if you have to. Like, does that connect with you? Does that make sense? Like, do you fully comprehend like why the next 30 years, Val, is going to be way more important to the success of you and your family than the last 30 days? And if not, pull up your page, right? So I would just go to RG Homeownership, wrong page here, and I'm going to click on the page for Perfect Mortgage Promise, and I'm going to say, these questions right here are going to make or break your success over the next 30 years. And most clients, when they're done with the mortgage, they believe that they are responsible to ask and answer and know all these questions at 100% certainty. And we just know that you're not going to do that. No offense, right? But you don't do this for a living, right? You don't do real estate and mortgage financing and all other areas of finance for a living. We do, right? So it's our responsibility to help you with these things. So really drive that home until you feel like you've really made the point there. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. So next here is ensure they have questions, they have someone on the team to reach out to or contact. This is really important. So this is kind of moving into the mega team concept that we're going to launch here, or at least beta test here at Art of Homeownership. It is not lost on me that many people are solo originators, are solo agents, or maybe you have 1 or 2 team members, maybe you have 10 team members, but you're just operating at capacity and you don't know where to fit this in. So the client needs to have someone's name and number and email to connect with. Now, if you're solo, it's you, right? There's nowhere else to go. But if you have someone on your team who can act as the client success manager, which is, at our company, we have about 8 or 9 different client success managers. So every employee at the company every loan officer at the company already has a client success manager to do this. Now, if your company doesn't offer that, you could build it, right? Like you could offer it up, or you could just do it. Maybe you and a couple of the loan officers that are on Art of Homeownership, if you're at the same company, right? You guys could hire a client success manager to help with this. But they should have someone's name and phone number. So Russ is the client experience manager client success manager for our team. And so one of the coolest things I get to do on that post-closing call is I get to introduce Russ. So I'm going to say, Val, just so you know, if you have any questions on first payment, on servicing transfers, on anything within the first 30 days, Russell is going to be your client success manager. And you'll get an email from him. Anything and everything you need, he's going to go over with you. And then he's going to call you and do a 3-month follow-up call and make sure that you're maximizing your tax benefits and that you understand, what your remaining money is or your disposable income is after all expenses. Make sure we're retirement planning appropriately. Make sure we have all insurances in place. Make sure that we have estate plans or wills or trust in place, or at least answering questions on those. Again, he's not going to sell you anything, but he's going to be your guy. All right, 6 months in, he's going to do your really make sure you understand our perfect mortgage promise and how we use that. And then every year, Russ is going to call you and he's going to do the annual financial review with you. Now, some of you are thinking it would be awesome if I had a Russ. If you can create someone on your team who can be that client success manager, do it. If not, you have to bear that burden, right? Because this is what we've signed up for, right? This is who we are, right? We deliver that. Now, we did not, we added the 3-month call, the 6-month call, the servicing and first payment. We added all of that just on my team, right? Because we had the bandwidth to do it. You don't have to make that commitment, right? You could literally just say, Joe on the team is going to do, he's going to call you every year on the anniversary of your closing. He's going to do an annual financial review with you, and he's going to, go over X, Y, and Z as I just talked about, right? And then Joe would reach out. And then, by the way, if you have questions or anything in between, reach out to Joe or reach out to myself, and we're happy to help. So if you don't have that person on your team, and if you don't have the bandwidth to be that person on your team, email us at Support Art of Homeownership. We are going to start kind of a beta group for people who want to use a client success manager that we will hire at Art of Homeownership that will do this for you. Now, this is a added service, right? So you'll have to pay, proportionally for their salary and so on and so forth. But we just want to know how many people have that desire. And if you don't have a client success manager and you want someone to do this for you, we're going to work towards a kind of a do it for you model. And these will be people employed by Art of Homeownership that, are basically extensions of your team, and they will be driving, those clients back to you, to your realtor partners, doing updates and all those kind of things. So please let us know if that interests you, and just email the team and we can help you with that, or take it on yourself or have a team member do that. I kind of already went over that. So let's get to the next page here. So timeline after closing, when is the next touch point? This is really up to you, right? So who reaches out, most important thing for the client, all these things are going to be specific to you and your team. So the next touch point starts with post-closing call, right? After post-closing call, if they're not going to hear from you again, like verbally, then you need to say, you're going to get a call on the annual financial review. Oh, and by the way, we're going to be managing your mortgage. So if there's ever an opportunity to improve your term, to lower your interest rate, to help you access, increase equity, to help you leverage, we'll reach out to you and have those, kind of forward planning conversations. But in the absence of us seeing those, those opportunities, then, we'll call you, or, this person will call you, whether it's me or a team member, will call you, and you'll get an email from us in advance with a calendar link where you can schedule a time to have the annual financial review. So just know what the next touch point is. You do want to make sure they understand when they're getting what they're getting. So on a weekly to bi-weekly basis, Val, you're going to be getting an email from our home concierge team, just helping you understand how to be a better homeowner with home maintenance, home repairs, home upkeep. It'll help you think through things that are important for you to really think about and do it for your home. On a monthly basis, you're going to get the Real Estate Wealth Digest. And again, this is all part of the post-closing call, right? So you don't need to hit on this twice, but when you go through that scripting, you'll see it all. So they need to know what emails they're going to be getting. You're going to get a welcome to Art of Homeownership email. You want to click in to opt in on that. Again, all in the post-closing script. But let them know when they're going to get emails, when they're going to get text messages, and when they're going to get actual phone calls, and then how they can schedule those. Any questions on touch points? Cool. All right. Who on the team reaches out? Again, it could be you, it could be a team member, or it could be an Art of Homeownership client success manager that we are providing to help you build your mega team. And then what's the most important thing that the client to understand if they get nothing else out of the transaction? I think, I probably miswrote this. If they get nothing else out of that phone call, is really what I talked about earlier, right? It's, do they know that you can and should be the person that they run everything by, right? And that, do they feel like they've become dependent on you in every aspect of real estate or finance, you and your realtor partners, or your realtor partner and your lender? If that's not the takeaway they have, then at some point during the process, we've either underperformed or we've undercommunicated. Because when the client gets done and they know, wow, they're going to help me with this and this and this and this and this and this, and they're going to help me buy my new home all cash if I ever need to. They're going to help me make sure I get the maximum sales price for my departing residence if I ever sell it. They're going to help me. They're going to monitor my mortgage for me. A big part of the monitoring the mortgage, or the perfect mortgage promise team, is to let them know what's happening in the market right now. This is a really big one. So if you're taking notes, put a star around this, circle it, and let your whole team know. If I'm talking to Val and I just close a transaction, or if I'm having an annual financial review, or if I'm talking to really any human being, I'm going to say, Val, it's important you understand what's happening in the mortgage industry right now. Rates have gone up decently, right? They're up almost 1.5% from their lows. And when that happens, the worst comes out in the mortgage industry. Because the mortgage industry, unfortunately, is full of salespeople, right? And they sell debt to make money. When doing rate and term refinances, or lower your rate type refinances aren't available, you start getting salespeople calling you to get you to do things that are not in your best interest, right? A good example of that would be if someone calls you and says, Val, you should go to a 15-year fixed. It only costs you 2 points to get this interest rate. Right? And you'll recapture that in X number of years. Like, if you see that or hear that, run. That is a mortgage company with no scruples, and they are simply trying to make money right now. Right? Someone convincing you to take cash out of your home without a clear directive and understanding why that might be the case. Someone resetting your term back to 30 years, right after you've been in the home for maybe 5. Unfortunately, the mortgage industry sells things, and they're good at it, and they make you think it's a good idea. Please run everything. Like, if you see something on TV, hear something on the radio, get something in the mail, like, if it even remotely interests you, call us, and we will be completely transparent as to if anything makes sense. But I want to tell you, Val, we should be the one calling you to help you understand when you should buy, sell, or finance a home. Right, or how your parents or your children may be able to accomplish that. We should be so engaged with you and your family that we help you understand when or if these future real estate goals make sense, and then we just work with you towards that timeline and towards that strategy. If you're not hearing from us, it's likely because we just don't see a huge opportunity. Now, that if something changes in your life, right, between in a year that we don't have a chance to know about, call us and tell us, right? Because we want to help you, really navigate the changes and evolutions in your life when it comes to your real estate and finance. And you have our commitment that we're not going to sell you anything, or we're going to be very unbiased in that process. The better that the client can feel that, right? The better that the consumer really knows that, the more connection you'll have, the more dependent they will become on your advice and guidance, and the more fearful they will be from seeing all the things, because you've already set the table, right? They're going to see those things. They're going to be like, Ryan told me about that. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that people are getting scammed that way. So make sure they really understand, what's happening there and how that's working. So I'm going to end with this. Let me find that email. So I'm going to share this email with you guys so you can see it here. So this was an email. One of our client success managers, Brandon's a client success manager of ours. He did an annual review, 30-minute annual review with the client. He followed up with the client with an email about everything they just went over. And the client replied back to the loan officer and one of the loan officer's team leaders and just said, "Our report card from Brandon, I feel so seen." Like, when I saw that, I was like, what we're doing is working, right? What we're doing is changing the way the consumer is going to expect their relationship with their mortgage professionals moving forward. I don't know Carrie, this client, but one thing I do know is that if she ever needs any real estate or mortgage advice again, she's not going anywhere else, because no other mortgage company and no other real estate team has made her feel so seen. So not only does the client get that, right, but then this is the email that goes out to to the team, like the actual production team. And then this one didn't happen to have a real estate agent involved, but if there's a real estate agent, the real estate agent would be CC'd here as well. And Brandon just goes over, just had the annual review, everything looked good. Here are the notes from the takeaway: current home, not their forever home. They want something in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. Like, if I'm a real estate agent, I'm looking at this and just imagine your real estate partners. I'm going to look at this and be like, goodness, I would have never done this as a real estate agent, right? Like, I would not have had this type of in-depth conversation with my client in every aspect of real estate or finance. Thank heavens that the lending part of my team is, because I don't know what my business looks like with, like, if there's people out there that are doing this and then there's everyone else who's not, who's going to win? Like, who's going to come out ahead in this trade? So this is where I really would urge you all to audit the client success manager position. If you have the time and bandwidth for you to be the client success manager, then be it, right? Set up the post-closing call, schedule it, do the post-closing call, send the notes out to the client, send the notes back out to the realtor. You're already going to have the notes, right? Because you're the team, and make that commitment. Right? And from a team building perspective, if you're helping 1 to 4-ish, 5 max families per month, you should have the bandwidth to be able to do that. Now, if you're helping 4 to 5 families consistently, it's going to be tough, right? Because there's just a lot you have to do there. That's when you hire your production partner, right? And then 5 more, another production partner. But this is where the concept of the mega team, right? Like the contracted mega team, I think is going to be powerful, right? I think it'll help a lot of people, because as opposed to you going out and hiring a client success manager that costs anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 a year, right? That these people, the client success managers, can handle probably roughly 100 transactions a month, right? It basically it boils down to having 3 calls, 4 calls a day, 5 calls a day. You don't have to bear that cost on your own. You can outsource it the same way you would use a contract processor potentially if you're not fully up to speed and don't want to hire a full-time processor. So think through that. If you don't have that at your company, think through ways maybe you could create it. Reach out to us if you have any questions. And I really believe that if post-closing is done well, right, if the post-closing call is delivered well, and if all the notes are sent out to realtors, to referral partners, to the clients, there's just the cheap option becomes the irresponsible option. I mean, just going through that email, looking at each line item that Brandon detailed, like, people will quickly realize I do not need, nor do I want cheap, right? I just want this, because cheap means I got to do all that stuff and figure it all out, and I'm not going to. So do your best to work on your post-closing. Any questions, comments, or feedback before we break? Give you guys 15 minutes back in your day. Either you're typing slowly or we got nothing. Cool. Well, team, thank you for your time today. And if there's anything else you need, please reach out to the Art of Homeownership team and let us know how we can help. We're excited about the concept of the mega team and helping you guys, kind of utilize leverage resources. So have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see y'all soon.